The year 2000 began not with a roar, but with a revolution. The very first BMW X5. Internally known as the E53, it wasn't just another SUV. BMW called it a sports activity vehicle, a subtle but deliberate distinction. This wasn't a rough-and-ready off-roader, it was a driver's car. The X5 blended BMW steering feel with tall-seated practicality, and it became a runaway success. In many ways, it opened the door to the SUV-heavy world that dominates today. Alongside it came the gorgeous BMW Z8, a retro-styled aluminum roadster inspired by the 507. Hand-built, glamorous, and famously featured in a James Bond film, the Z8 marked BMW's commitment to emotional, halo-level vehicles. But the real bombshell arrived in 2001, the reborn Mini. BMW had purchased the Rover Group in the late 90s and salvaged the only part worth saving: Mini. The new R50 Mini Cooper was small, charming, fun, and instantly iconic. It became one of BMW's most successful strategic moves, turning Mini from a nostalgic British name into a global premium city car brand. Then came 2002, and with it one of the most controversial BMWs ever made, the 7 Series E65, the car that introduced the world to Chris Bangle's flame-surfacing design language. Some called it daring, many simply called it ugly. The famous Bangle butt boot lid sparked endless debate, but under the skin was something much more important: the first iDrive system, a central controller that would go on to define BMW interiors for the next 2 decades. In 2003, BMW took full control of Rolls-Royce, opening the state-of-the-art Goodwood factory and launching the Phantom 7. Quietly, BMW had just secured its position in the ultra-luxury world. Between 2004 and 2005, BMW launched the 1 Series, expanded its turbo engine program, and continued refining the brand's sporty identity. The E93 series arrived in 2005, striking a balance between Bangle's boldness and BMW's traditional elegance. By the midpoint of the decade, BMW had grown larger, more daring, and more ambitious. But an even bigger transformation was coming, one that would shape the company's future for years to come. The late 2000s were a time of pressure. Fuel prices were rising, CO2 regulations were tightening, and the automotive world was preparing for change, and BMW needed a long-term plan. In 2006, the brand returned to its motorsport-influenced roots with the E92 M3, a V8-powered masterpiece that many still consider one of BMW's greatest achievements. Yet, at the same time, the company began peering into a very different future. In 2007, BMW announced Efficient Dynamics, a policy, a brand philosophy, and an engineering challenge rolled into one. Lightweight materials, start-stop technology, brake energy regeneration, and aerodynamic improvements began appearing across the lineup. Efficiency was no longer optional, it was central. But while BMW improved its petrol and diesel engines, the company was also preparing something nobody expected. At the 2009 Frankfurt Motor Show, BMW unveiled the Vision Efficient Dynamics concept car, a dramatic plug-in hybrid sports car with butterfly doors, layered bodywork, and a carbon fiber structure. It looked like nothing BMW had ever made. It looked like science fiction. But it wasn't fiction. It was the preview of the BMW i8. In 2010, BMW rolled out a series of major production models, including the F10 5 Series and the F25 X3. But behind the scenes, Munich was working on something much bigger, a secret project that would one day become an entirely new sub-brand.
In 2011, BMW changed the conversation entirely. The company officially launched its BMW i sub-brand, a dedicated electric and electrified division with its own logo, its own factories, and its own philosophy. It wasn't just about making EVs. It was about rethinking mobility, using carbon fiber, recycled materials, and futuristic design. And in 2013, the world met the first result of that vision, the BMW i3. A small, quirky, rear-motored carbon fiber electric hatchback, the i3 was unlike anything else on the road. Its modular life-drive architecture was revolutionary. Its doors were rear-hinged. Its interior was minimalist and ecological. For a conservative brand known for saloons and coupes, this was shockingly bold. And alongside it came the BMW i8, launched in 2014, a plug-in hybrid sports car with scissor doors and a 3-cylinder engine paired with an electric motor. It wasn't a traditional performance machine, but it became a global sensation. The i8 showed the world that BMW could make electrification aspirational. By 2015, BMW had integrated carbon fiber into mainstream production with the new G11 7 Series, and the company appeared to be leading the electric future. But the next decade would prove that early innovation does not guarantee dominance.
The year 2016 marked BMW's 100th anniversary, a century of engineering excellence, but also a century facing challenges. As Tesla gained traction, and as global markets shifted, BMW entered a phase of intense self-analysis. The latter 2010s were dominated by SUV expansion. The X3, X4, X5, and X6 all replaced or refreshed. BMW launched the revived 8 Series, the high-tech G35 Series, and a new generation of M cars. But controversy followed again in 2020, when BMW introduced the giant-grilled 4 Series, G22. The oversized kidneys sparked global debate, reminiscent of the Bangle era. Meanwhile, the electric push stalled. The i3 aged without a direct successor. The i8 ended production without a replacement. Tesla and Hyundai surged ahead. BMW needed a new strategy, not just for EVs, but for the company's entire future. And that strategy would arrive right at the start of the new decade.
In 2021, BMW began its second and far more aggressive electric era. The i4 arrived, an electric Grand Coupe with real range, real power, and real BMW driving feel. Alongside it came the iX, the flagship electric SAV derived from the iNext concept. Polarizing in design, but technologically impressive, the iX marked BMW's arrival into the long-range EV segment. In 2022, the brand launched the i7, the first fully electric 7 Series. Its theater screen, extravagant grille, and bold interior signaled that BMW was no longer afraid to push luxury to extremes. The same year, BMW released the XM, the first standalone M model since the M1, a plug-in hybrid high-performance SUV aimed at the most profitable markets. By 2023, BMW revealed the single most important concept in its modern history, the Vision Neue Klasse, a clean-sheet EV platform with 800-volt architecture, improved batteries, 30% more range, 30% faster charging, and 25% better efficiency. It wasn't an evolution of the i4 or iX, it was the blueprint for BMW's future. In 2024, further Vision models appeared, showcasing both the electric 3 Series successor and the next-generation X3 equivalent. Production was set for 2025. And finally, in 2025, the first Neue Klasse models launched, the iX3 Neue Klasse and the i3 sedan, not to be confused with the old hatchback. This marked the third major era in BMW's EV journey, and the first that was truly competitive at a global level. The years from 2025 to 2030 represent the most transformative period in BMW's modern history. The Neue Klasse platform replaces everything: petrol, diesel, hybrid, and older EV architectures. It becomes the foundation of the next 3 Series, 4 Series, X3, X4, the next electric M cars, and even future minis. BMW's official 2030 goals include at least 50% fully electric global sales, over 10 Neue Klasse models on the market, 40% reduction in CO2 emissions per vehicle, 50% recycled materials used in production, and continued hydrogen R&D for long-term diversification.
BMW enters the late 2020s not as an underdog, but as a rejuvenated competitor, balancing tradition with innovation and embracing electrification without losing the brand's driving identity.
From the birth of the X5 in 2000 to the global launch of the Neue Klasse in 2025, BMW has undergone a complete philosophical shift. The company that once defined itself through straight sixes and rear-wheel drive saloons now leads with electric platforms, digital technology, and sustainable engineering. The journey wasn't smooth. There were design controversies, missed opportunities, and periods of electric hesitation. But through bold experiments, the i3, the i8, the Iconics, and later Neue Klasse, BMW ultimately found its footing. By 2030, the company stands not as a relic of the petrol age, but as a central force in the electric era. This is the full story of BMW, from 2000 into the electric future. A story of reinvention, resilience, and relentless engineering ambition.